What's up, guys? Welcome back to our episode of HU Flow Podcast, our final episode of HU Flow Podcast. We're your hosts, Stephen and Marilyn, and Stephen's gonna tell you why this is our final episode.
Yeah. So we've been doing this for about 2 years. I know there's been a big gap since the last episode, since you've last seen us. And that's for good reason. I mean, me and Marilyn obviously have been pretty busy with our jobs outside of this podcast. Predominantly, one of the things that takes up my time is a mixture between if you're at Arizona University, either the main campus or the Philadelphia campus, with HU merch. Obviously, we've been kind of really focusing on getting you guys some of the best quality merch out there for college. And also just some other things as well, because I do a lot of freelancing, so I be kind of keep pretty busy between those two jobs. So I haven't had much time to get scheduled up with some people, get Maryland correlated. But also, another key factor is I think if two episodes before that, I think we also talked about it. Both me and Marilyn graduated.
Yeah.
So Maryland currently is the class of 2022. I'm in the class of 2020. We just for part of it was just because of COVID. We graduated literally the same place, but we both technically are graduates. But Maryland has moved on, and now she does some really cool things. So Marilyn, let's kind of hop into it. So like, what's going on with you in life, man? Like, what we're currently doing?
Well, Stephen, I have graduated. We started this podcast, you and I, to highlight the voices and students at HU because at the time we just really wanted to bring life onto campus, get to know some of the students and hear from them in a way that we didn't hear from them at the time. Um, we were both students when we started this podcast. Isn't that weird?
It is super
You and
weird.
I were students, and 2 years later, we're both graduated, and we both moved on with our lives. So it seems fitting that we kind of close this chapter of HU Flow podcast. Maybe there will be something in the future. We don't know about it. If
Yep.
anyone wants to pick up where, we're kind of leaving off here, I think that would be more than welcomed. But where I am now, I have since moved out of my house. I used to live with my parents up in Luzerne County. That's where I'm from. And I've moved to Jenkintown. So I'm here in your city in Philadelphia. And I recently, within the past, I've been working there for 3 months, got a job at a finance company, SEI Investments. They're like a private trust company, and I'm an operations analyst. So if you guys remember, I graduated with a degree in business administration and a concentration in data analytics. And now I'm actually working in my field. And I got a job in my field within 6 months of graduating. So I've met every HU statistic.
You really have.
um, but that's all thanks to HU for helping me get that degree, and now I'm here living um apartment life.
Oh man, see, I told her that, and I tell this to everyone who graduates, like you ain't gonna feel it until probably like a month or two after, like especially how you transition, it's gonna be a weird feeling, but once you get out of that feeling, you're gonna really flourish. Now, obviously, I knew she was moving to my city for a while, like she's been talking about it, but I told her like, it's Philly, so like, good luck, have fun, but also remember, it's a big area. Especially I know because you're coming from a small area, so there's a lot to
Hmm.
adjust to. But yeah, so that's kind of leads to my next question. How's the adjustment been for living in Philadelphia?
It's been, I'm not going to say culture shock. It's been an adjustment for sure, just because coming from Harrisburg, I would say more so. Harrisburg's like a big slingshot city, if you ask me. Because the way I picture it in my mind, you move there and you don't want to stay there. No one does, but you might, and that's okay too. But you're probably going to want to transition to either rural life if you decide you don't like city life, or more of a city area. And living in like the kind of suburbs of Philadelphia has been pretty cool just because there's so many more people and so many more things to do. Um, the other night, I went to go ice skating. This was actually last night, in fact. Moore and I went to go ice skating. And I just found this ice rink, and I wanted it to be like in Harrisburg. We'd go ice skating and there wouldn't be too many people around. Well, we show up to this ice rink and we're looking in the windows and there's like colorful lights. So we're like, okay, cool, it's gonna be fun. We walk in and there's a line of like, I kid you not, like 70 kids, and they're all like 14, 15, 16. Like they don't drive because the parking lot's not full. Their parents are dropping them off. And it was like swarmed with these young children. And all that to say, it's just way busier here. But it's fun. We ended up going to this really cool bowling alley that was like arcade, bowling, pool, bar, pretty sick. But we wouldn't have found that if we weren't like in this area. I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's fun being like, I want to go do something and then finding something like 10 minutes away. Like it's not far. You don't have to drive hours to do something fun.
That's true. I mean, look, Philly got that. Wait, hold up. So you used the SEPTA yet?
Hey, what?
Have
Oh,
you used
SEPTA?
SEPTA?
Yeah, I do have a SEPTA card. But I'm not gonna commit I'm not going to admit to felonies. I have used the SEPTA card.
Oh, see, it's okay, bro. It's not like, back in my day, we haven't done a little something of that nature. I won't admit to these things, but
Is the
before the
train is it just one hop away? Yeah, did I swipe? Absolutely.
yep.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. 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 Here on HU Merch, I mean, HU Merch, HU Flow podcast here. Yeah. This how you
Brought to you
know
by
I
HU Merch.
Yeah, sponsored by HU Merch. This how you know I'm invested into the other parts of my life right now. But sponsored by HU Flow, we don't condone any type of business we were discussing. But let's say hypothetically that did happen. But neither of us would never do any such a thing. So,
I am an honest and upright individual
same.
in every
But
facet of my life.
I mean, look, but I'm glad you're getting used to SEPTA. For those who don't know, SEPTA is basically the transportation down near Philadelphia. So if you get on a bus, you get on a train, subway, you're using a SEPTA. They use now a SEPTA key. So if you're from New York, it's like a similar to a Metro Pass or Metro Card. Same principles. It's pretty much we're kind of copying New York in that way. I think it's
Yeah, it's
better.
crazy. I live right by a train station, and now I never did. The train doesn't go up to Scranton. And now I'm like, ugh, why can't people just take the train to come over here? Because the train goes to Harrisburg, and it's so convenient. I love living by the train.
Exactly. Hey man, shout out to Amtrak and as well.
Hmm.
They do good
Thank
business.
you.
Um, but like, it seemed like you're definitely getting adjusted to Philadelphia life. And then when you mentioned the ice rink, I thought you were talking about the one that they do down at 15th Street, where like it's an open one that everyone can just skate around and everything.
Nah, I didn't go down that direction. I went like
Uh,
to more suburbs, which is probably
gosh,
why it was swarmed with 14-year-olds. But I didn't
yeah.
think anyone would be there. I didn't think that people would go late on a Friday. Crazy.
I mean, hey, you'd be amazed with what kids be doing. I mean, I know
Kids be ice
also.
skating, apparently.
Yeah, and also it's the season. I mean, right now we're in a holiday season. For those, it's December 3rd right now as we're recording this, so it's holiday season. I know they have a Christmas village downtown in Philly that I saw when I
Hmm.
was there, and usually it's always going to happen. But like, it seems like you're adjusting to life really well in Philadelphia. With your job though, kind of to focus back more on that. What exactly is a day in the life for you in this?
All right. So, a day in the life. I have a really cool hybrid schedule right now. I don't know if it's going to stay that way. I really hope it does. But right now, I go into the office Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and on Mondays and Fridays, I get to work from home. I started as a temp position, so I wasn't hired directly through the company. I actually start full time this Monday, so the 5th, which is really exciting. That basically just means that I worked there for 3 months and they liked me enough to keep me on. But I also was like, please keep me on. And my supervisor is really cool. And I really enjoy the work environment there. It's open office. So if you've ever been in the makerspace lab where they have like the electricity cords coming down from the ceiling, it's like that times 1,000 and then times five because there's like five different buildings. Um, I can only speak for like the operations side of the company. I know there's like the sales side, development side. I'm not part of that. I do operations with its own little subdivision of SEI, but it's the more like back end analytical side, I guess. I go into the office 3 days a week. I have to drive about 40 minutes. That part isn't my favorite. But I made friends with a coworker who has to drive even farther than I do. So we bond over that. And I'll message him on Teams and I'll be like, "How was your drive?" And he'll be like, "Oh, the traffic." And I'm like, "Dude, I know." Which sounds so boring, but it's just like, I don't know, it's those little things throughout the day. The company's really cool. They put on a bunch of like events. Every Wednesday they have a midweek mingle. Um, and they just redid their cafeteria. So they also have like a food plan, not like food plan, but they have like a cafeteria area where if you use the app, they use the Thrive app, if anyone's familiar with it. You basically can order food in advance and go and pick it up. And everything's super cheap. Nothing is over $8. And the $8 things are like full entrees that you can scoop yourself. So you'll get like the Chinese to go container that's about like this big and fill that. And let me tell you, it's well worth the money. The food is really good. That's one of my favorite parts about working there is the food.
Oh, damn, dude, that
Um,
sounds like a steal.
yeah, it's just a really nice company. And if you're ever interested in doing anything analytics related or even finance related, because a lot of my coworkers graduated with like economics degrees, business degrees, finance degrees. Like I didn't do anything purely finance while at HU. But I've always had an interest in it. So it wasn't too hard to pick up. Um, but yeah, look into SEI if that's something that you're interested in, or finance in general,
Oh,
analytics,
okay.
things like that. But that's my typical day in the life. Then I drive home and I'm like, ugh, it's 5:30. I also get out of work at 4:30, which is pretty sweet. But then I'm like, ugh, it's 5:30. I don't feel like doing anything else with my day. And then I like go to sleep and do it all again.
Okay. Okay. I mean, so I would say that's a good typical day in the life of someone in your field. And I'm assuming it's a 40-minute drive. You're probably hopping on the highway 9 times out of 10 or something like that. So,
Turnpike,
oh yeah,
turnpike traffic.
yeah, you definitely have it bad. Um, I feel sorry for you.
That's the only downside.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like always traveling to work, especially in those situations, always gonna be a downside. But I mean, you get to love it, hate it sometimes, give and take.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
on holidays you'll hate it for sure. But
Some days are better than others.
there you go. I mean, but I'm glad to hear that, you're enjoying the job, you're loving what you're doing. Um, and also just hearing that again, like I said, this is very important to anyone listening. Like adapting and getting used to your new environment is very key because if you're not comfortable, you're not gonna do well. And I
Mm.
mean, obviously, you can hear from Marilyn. She sounds pretty comfortable doing what she's doing, getting used to life in Philly and working her job. So, like, what are some like tips you can give someone, post grad? What kind of things could you say to them that would like help them kind of get through their tough days?
Woo. I have many thoughts. It took me a while to get to this really position that I am happy with. There was the immediate feeling after graduation of like, what the heck do I do now? Because I had hoped to already have a job offer out of college, which is a huge and lofty goal. Um, it's not as easy as it sounds. And that's I don't know. That took a little grappling, just being like, I feel lost. I feel kind of like a failure just because that's just what I wanted to have. And I had to take a second and be like, that you're not a failure, you just graduated. That's a huge achievement in and of itself. I did actually have a job offer uh, for a company and I moved down here for a little bit to work for it. But that job, they weren't super honest with what I was actually doing. So I left after about 5 days working. And then I really felt like a failure because I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I moved here and I have no job and I have no income. So I had to just take it everything day by day. And this is how I approach things. Um, I live with two roommates, and the one is my best friend since seventh grade. We're celebrating our 10-year friendversary soon, but her and I just think very differently about things. And it's really cool to talk with each other and think out or like hear how the other person thinks things through. Because if she was in my situation, wouldn't be able to focus on anything else until she had secured like another job offer. And I went about a month and a half between two jobs, or like between leaving this job and getting my other job offer. And I, for me, I couldn't let that um, really get me down. I was very stressed about, not having it, thinking like, well, what am I going to do for income? Um, and how am I going to, I guess, use the degree that I just worked so hard to get? My advice, though, really was just to take everything day by day and be very incremental in it. Because I was having a conversation with Steven before this call about the work that I did over the summer. I was still working for HU over the summer, doing a data project. I'm working on the research paper for that right now. I was analyzing the dual enrollment summer camp data. So I was taking that day by day, but then I was also taking how to find a full-time position day by day as well. And um, that helped me not become overwhelmed with the whole entire process of it. I would sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to get this little part of it done. And that typically would like kind of snowball into more work, but I couldn't sit down and think, okay, I have to do this, and then get overwhelmed and then I shut down. I have to think, all right, what's the easiest part of this task that I can accomplish? And that's just because I was not in like the best place mentally as well. I was like kind of defeated, you have that like summer slump after graduating. I wasn't on a graduate high at all. So I had to really push myself to accomplish and get what I wanted. Where before I just kind of thought, well, if I have the job out of graduation, then everything will come easy. And it definitely wasn't that way. So I really had to kind of force myself to get into this position. But I'm so grateful that I did because I'm way happier now.
I mean, hey man, I can tell, I can hear it. I mean, I remember also telling you many times, like, you're not gonna feel that feeling of being a post grad and that awkwardness until after it happens, and then
Hmm.
it's either you're gonna be on this high or you can feel like shit,
Hmm.
and it can fluctuate. So how you become, whatever you become at that point, is really who you'll be in the long term. So definitely, I'm happy to hear you went through the highs and lows and came out on top. And
For sure.
obviously, I already knew you were gonna come up on top. It's just everyone has to struggle at some point in life. I mean, it's just natural. So, and I mean, for those who's watching, at any point you're probably struggling, probably on a high or a low. I mean, just remember, like, I know it's cringy to say, but better days are ahead. It just kind of
Yeah.
comes down to
Cringe.
you. Yeah, it's super cringe. But we can also say this thing called life. You know what I'm saying? It be like
Cringe.
that sometimes. Come on, that's my catchphrase though. Like,
It's
but you're right. You're right. It's cringe.
not based, as they say.
Not based at all. But hey,
Some people
it
say that.
that too. There's a lot of things you could really say in these situations, but let's just keep it simple. Better days are ahead, and I mean, obviously, myself and Marilyn are examples of that. And the last thing I'm gonna say is, well, as I said in the beginning, this is the last episode of HU Flow. We've been doing this for 2 years. We've got numerous guests come on, had a lot of laughs, a lot of deep talks, a lot of reality checks for a lot of you. So we first just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We enjoyed making this, enjoyed doing this. We thank everyone who's helped in the process of getting us this far with the podcast. And I mean, I guess I would say, like, Marilyn, what is kind of like your favorite moment from this podcast? If you had to pick any, or like a
Oh
favorite
my
episode.
oh my gosh, a favorite episode? I don't know. I've just been I'm gonna be so happy. I've been so grateful, like just having the opportunity to talk to so many amazing students on campus and learn their stories, learn what got them here, learn how they overcame adversity just to get to bachelor's arena. Um, and I've learned so much about everyone that's been on the show. Thank you to everyone who's ever been on the show. I know we've had more than students, we've also had teachers. So hearing from the teacher's perspective was also really cool. I remember there was one teacher that we interviewed right as the pandemic hit, and he was talking about the different inequalities. That was one of my favorite interviews, I think. I forget your name, sorry. But I enjoyed that interview a lot. I'll pick it because it's not a student, so it can't be biased. Um, um, I've also just enjoyed taking time to sit down and catch up with people. Like, there's always talk before and after the interviews. Stephen, you and I would talk a lot if we're waiting for someone to show up.
Yeah.
um, that's always been fun. It's just always been a great environment to work in. Um, and great memories all around were made. And
Oh yeah.
I'll miss this. I will. It's not like it's easy to continue since both of us have, very different lives now, both being alumni. That's really weird to say, but we are both alumni, and it doesn't really make sense for us to make a college podcast for somewhere that we graduated from. Um, so with that, I do say goodbye to HU Flow, say goodbye to all of our guests that we've ever had. Um, and I hope that, maybe if there's still the need for podcasts such as this or any other student run podcasts, I issue a challenge out there. If anyone's like, I want to do this, I encourage you to reach out to your professors, whoever, reach out to Shani, I don't know, reach out to somebody, get it going, even if it's not like through this venue, through the enrichment venue at all. Start a podcast. Yeah, everyone's doing that. It's
Oh,
pretty fun.
100%. I mean, I would also say, if you want to do it, do it. And the mentionings of another podcast, because I'm glad you brought it up. So, while HU Flow is ending, HU and Beyond will be more recurring. So, HU and Beyond is something that I personally just do on the side because it was kind of like let's divide and conquer with it. So, we've
Hmm.
had guests who were like students always. We would do it on Beyond. So we're gonna start picking that up again. We'll also have students on there too. So we'll do another format similar to HU Flow, but not as the same. That would just be hosted by me. We might sometimes have a special guest come on, maybe like a Marilyn for one time, or some of my other
Bring me
coordinators.
back.
If they, yeah, I mean, look, she's the OG for a reason.
Keep kicking the
Um,
horse.
exactly, I know. Um, but obviously, we've enjoyed doing this podcast 2 years. The amount of people we've met, the amount of guests we've had on. I mean, thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate it truly. I think the guy you're mentioning is Zachary, right?
Yes.
So I think I love those ones when we did the teachers. But I'm biased on those. So because those teachers were all my old high school teachers. But I think my favorite episode was probably with Joshua Bargeban. He's my old math teacher. He made me love math, so I always got love for the guy. Congrats on the kid, by the way. I know I've said this to you already, but like, congrats. I hope she's awesome. I think she's 2 years old now. I think when we
Oh,
recorded him, it was like a while ago, so he's about to be two. Um,
we've
so
been here
yeah,
for 2 years. That's
yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy. But yeah, I think the last thing I was gonna say is thank you. We appreciate it, and man, this is gonna be bittersweet. But I got nothing else to say. Marilyn, would you take us out, please?
I will. So, thank you guys for joining us for our last episode of HU Flow podcast. I don't think there's any more thanks we could give, but thank you for joining us along this ride and watching us grow and graduate these past 2 years. I know I'm gonna miss seeing you all, hearing from everyone. Um, as always, I'm your host, Marilyn, and this is Steven. Links are down below. You can join us again for another episode. So I'm just going to say thank you and goodbye.
Take care, guys.